We are going to cover the shape building tool and creating complex shapes from simple shapes. So the first thing you need to do is open up Adobe Illustrator. Once you have that open, you're going to go to your characters file. Mine is showing up under recent. If it's not, you're going to do open and then navigate to your characters folder. So the first thing that you need to do, if you don't have a second artboard and you only have one artboard, you need to add a second artboard. The way that we're going to do this is in our panels, you're going to look for artboard. If you don't have the artboards panel open, you're going to go window and then find the artboard. Mine is open, so if I click this, it will close it. Once you have the artboard panel open, you're going to go to the bottom of the panel and you're going to click on the plus sign, which is new artboard. You do not need to do this if you already have two artboards. Okay, so on the first artboard is our first character that we made using shapes. On the second artboard, we're going to create a scene using complex shapes. I'm going to go over the different ways that you can create complex shapes, and then you'll create a scene. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So since we'll be using these shape tools, I'm going to right click on it to make all of them appear, and then I'm going to click on this to make the tear off toolbar. The other tool that we're going to be using is our Shapebuilder tool, and it's down here. Again, I'm going to right click on it, then click on that little drop out arrow to create the tear off toolbar. So this is the tool that we'll be using. Okay, now that we have our toolbars all set up, I'm going to show you how to add shapes together to create a complex shape. Then we'll subtract shapes to create a different shape. And then we'll use the negative space of shapes to create a third shape. So this first one, we're going to create a cloud. I'm going to grab my ellipse tool and I'm going to drag out a bunch of ellipses. I'm going to switch these colors. And I think I'll just change this so that it will be easier to see what is going on when I use the Shapebuilder tool. So I think I'll make a rain cloud. Let's see, we'll start here. I'm going to drag out another one, switch to my black arrow tool. I'm noticing I have a white stroke on these, so I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm going to copy the shape by clicking on it, holding down Alt, and then dragging out. Okay, there we go. There's a cloud, a happy little cloud. You could leave this shape like this, but the more professional way is once you have your shape set, you're then going to combine these shapes to make it one shape. And then you only have to worry about one shape instead of four. So I'm going to take the black arrow tool and drag around them to select all of them. This is important. When you use the Shapebuilder tool, you have to have two or more objects on your artboard selected in order for it to work. If you don't have two or more objects selected, it won't work. So I've got 4 shapes selected. I'm going to go over to the other toolbar and click on the Shapebuilder tool. Now, in order to combine shapes, all I have to do is drag. So see how these are changing colors? That means that that will be included. So I'm going to click and hold, and then I'm just going to drag through these until all the shapes are one. And now I have a lovely dark rain cloud. So the next technique I'm going to show you is how to subtract shapes. And we're going to use the ellipse tools, the ellipse shape tool, to create a crescent. So the first thing I am going to do is I am going to drag out a circle. There it is. I'm going to change that circle to a lovely yellow color. And then I'm going to drag out another circle on top of it. I'm holding my spacebar key, and that will allow me to move my shape over while I'm dragging it out. So my mouse button is still pushed. And I'm just going to create a crescent shape and decide where I want it. I'm going to change the color of this. And first, I'm going to click on V to change it to my black arrow key. And then I'm going to do contrasting color. Okay, so this is the shape that I want to end up with. Again, I need to select 2 or more shapes. And this time we're not going to click and drag. We're going to hold the Alt key, and you can drag or you can just click, and that will delete shapes. And there's my crescent. The next technique I'm going to show you is how to create a shape from negative space. So we are going to use circles, and we're going to put them together in a way that they will create a diamond shape in the middle. So again, I need my ellipse tool. I'm going to hold down my shift key while I drag out that ellipse tool. I'm going to switch to my black arrow key by clicking V on the keyboard. And then I'm going to Alt drag this yellow shape over. Now these lines that are popping up are called smart guides, and these help you align your shapes to other shapes. So you want your two circles to touch, and you want them to be kind of aligned in the middle. I'm going to select both of these. I held down, this one was selected, and I held shift and then clicked on this one to select this one. Now the easiest way is to Alt click and drag. And again, you want these to touch. You can't have a gap or this trick will not work. There we go. I'm just going to change the colors of these so it's a little bit more obvious what we're doing. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to make sure, I'm using Control+, I'm going to make sure that the circles are touching. They're all touching. That looks good. So this is the shape that we are going to grab using our Shapebuilder tool. I'm going to drag out using the black arrow tool to select all 4 circles. Then I'm going to click on the Shapebuilder tool. I'm going to come down here. Okay, so notice as I'm hovering over, things are turning gray, but when I come to the middle, they are not that middle part is not turning gray. So my circles are not set up correctly, and I need to go back and fix them. I'm going to switch back to the black arrow tool. Just going to delete these. I'm going to take these, and notice up here this change. This is the control bar. Just going to make sure that they're aligned to their centers. Vertical align center. And then I'm going to select this one, and I'm just going to use my arrow key to bring it in, make sure it's absolutely touching. I'm going to select both of these again, use my Alt drag technique. I'm also holding down Shift to keep them aligned perfectly. There we go. Now that definitely looks like they are touching, so I shouldn't have any issues. Once again, I'm going to select all 4 circles, and then click on my Shapebuilder tool. There we go. So now this shape in the middle is turning gray. I'm going to click on it. Then I'm going to move back to my black arrow tool by clicking V on the keyboard. I'm going to click this diamond shape, and right now everything is stuck together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Control-Shift-G, and that's going to ungroup. I clicked off to deselect. Now I'm going to click on here and move it. So again, that keyboard shortcut was Control-Shift-G because all of my pieces got grouped together. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So now I have this star. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to create a scene, and we're going to do a couple more complex shapes. Okay, so I have this moon shape. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I think I'll make a nighttime scene. I am holding my Shift key while I drag this out. I'm going to make my star shapes a little bit smaller. I'm going to put like a dark blue color in the background to simulate that is more nighttime. So I'm going to click this rectangle, and I'm going to come up to the corners here and just drag out. I'm not going to go all the way because then I'm going to do some grass on the bottom. This rectangle is covering everything, and that's not what I want. I'm going to go to my layers panel. I have the bunny on here. I'm going to create a second layer, and I'm going to keep my layer separate. So what I'm doing is I'm going to double click on layer 1 on the name, and I'm going to change that to whatever my character was that I created. And then on this layer 2, I'm going to change this to what I'm creating now, which is a nighttime scene. nighttime scene. And then you just hit enter. I'm going to select all three of these layers that I have. I have the star, the moon, and the blue background. Oh, and I have the clouds, so 4 layers. I need to make sure that these get selected. I'm going to select these 4 layers, and then I'm going to click them and drag them up to my new layer that's labeled nighttime scene. Now I can hide that, and I'm just going to work on this nighttime scene. So now it's a little bit easier to see what I have. I'm going to continue to drag this rectangle to the bottom so that I can see all of my pieces. Now we can't see my little diamonds because it's the same color as this rectangle. I'm going to move back to my black arrow tool and select this blue background. If you want a background in Illustrator, you have to lay out a shape or some kind of object to hold the color. I am going to choose on my color guide this kind of dark color. Well, that's black. I don't quite want black. There we go. Nice dark blue. I'm going to change my star to something yellowy. And this might be a little too bright, but maybe I'll get something. There we go. And I'm going to change my moon to more of a white color. Leaving this light blue. Okay, so now I'm just going to build a nighttime scene. I've got this moon here. I'm going to come and put this cloud. Not quite sure where this is going to go, but I'm also going to make another one. But I'm not going to copy it because I want it to be a different shape. This background layer, every time I want to drag out now, it's going to get in the way. So what I'm going to do is select this and then go over to the layers panel. And for this rectangle, right next to the eye is a blank space. If you click that, it will lock it. Now you can't select it. So now I can drag out and select these clouds and then come over here and just make them all, using the Shapebuilder tool, make them all one. Missed a spot, and I'm just going to include that. There we go. If I wanted to change the transparency of these and kind of make them blend in a little bit more, all I have to do is go to the transparency or the properties tab. On your transparency tab, all you do is change the opacity. You lower this down. On your properties tab, you can see why the properties tab might be extremely helpful, because I could change the color of this. I can add a stroke. I can align it with something and change the opacity all on one tab. So I'm going to click here and just drag that opacity down a bit. I think I'll do the same with this one. And I think I'm going to copy this cloud one more time. So I'm going to Alt and then I can squish it or stretch it out, make it look a little weird. Or maybe I just want it smaller. There we go. This star, I'm going to add an effect to this. I'm going to come up here and go Effect. I'm going to add an effect to this star. I'm going to select the star and come up to Effect and go Stylize. We're going to go Stylize and we're going to do an outer glow. So screen works. Overlay does not work. Neither does soft light. Hard light works. Color dodge works. I'm going to go back to screen and click OK. Now I've got a little bit of a glow going on around that star. And then I'm just going to copy this one out a couple times. I'm going to just reshape this one. Going to bring this shape out a little bit more. We'll keep that one there. I'm going to add that glow to my moon too. So I'm going to go Effect, Stylize, Outer Glow. I like that a lot. I think I'm going to change it to white for this one though. Yeah, I like that one a lot. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a background color for the ground. I'm just going to come down here, click on here, and then maybe if I drag out my rectangle, it will go on top of there. So I'm selecting the rectangle tool and I'm going to drag out a rectangle. Now I'm just going to move it to above that background layer and I'm going to change the color to a dark green. Okay, I'm going to make a flower this time. Oh, I'm looking for my ellipse tool. I'm going to drag out a circle. There's one. And I'm going to make a lovely purple flower. Okay, I'm going to zoom into this. I'm just going to bring them in so they touch. And then I'm going to select these and using my Shapebuilder tool, I'm going to create one flower shape. Then I'm going to go back up to my ellipse tool and I'm going to drag out another circle. And I didn't include this because I am going to make this a little bit lighter. There we go. I'm going to grab a rectangle and I'm going to create a stem. I think I'm going to grab a rounded rectangle. Doesn't even matter. I'm going to create a stem and I'm going to do it the same way that we did the bunny ear. I'm going to curve it, so that's why I'm going to use this ellipse tool. So grab your ellipse and drag out a skinny ellipse. All right, then I'm going to switch to the white arrow tool, which is A on the keyboard. Select the top and then drag that top over. Now I'm going to switch to the black arrow tool and I'm going to move the whole shape over like this. And now I'm going to put the stem behind the flower. Okay, so then I would continue working to create a whole scene. I'm going to stop right now because I think you get the idea of how to use complex shapes. What I want you to do is to create a scene way different than mine using your basic shapes and the Shapebuilder tool.